This is the part of the off season, especially after the Super Bowl is over, that you just really are kind of wondering what type of content you're going to make for the next 6 months. You have the draft, then you have free agency that will provide some content, and then you have OTAs. But during that June, July area of time, it's very hard to find content. So I'm gonna try my best to try and get y'all some stuff that I can get out. But I don't know, man. It's gonna be difficult. But I was able to come up with an idea today. So let's get right on into it. What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Titans Rundown. I am your host, Micah McCamey. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about what the Titans should do in free agency, or at least what I think they should do in free agency. I already kind of spoke on this. I touched on it last week whenever I was talking about the dream offseason for the Tennessee Titans. But now I'm going to go a little bit more in depth on the free agency side of things. I'm going to go more in depth on the draft side of things. And yeah, that's really about it. I'm going to go more in depth on free agency and on the draft. So yeah, let's get into it. So first off, I do want to talk about this. I didn't have this on my notes, but the New England Patriots played in the Super Bowl against the Seattle Seahawks. And honestly, I felt kind of vindicated watching it. Not as in Vrabel is a terrible coach or anything. None of us were saying that he was a bad coach. If he has a good team, then he's going to steer the ship, if you will. But he does have his weaknesses as a coach. I think that sometimes he lingers in on arrogance more than confidence, which I think is what happened to him on Sunday. So I just wanted to put that out there that, yeah, he didn't make that many adjustments. And congrats to the Seahawks and Sam Darnold for winning a Super Bowl. I do have a couple of friends that are Seahawks fans, so congratulations to y'all if you're listening. But yeah, honestly, it was fun for me to watch because, look, okay, here's the thing, right? Was it a mistake to fire Vrabel? Yes, it was, before anybody comes at me with that. Am I still a grade A Vrabel disliker? I think that you could say that. So anyway, we're going to go into this episode starting out with yes or no. There are re-signings that I am going to go through. There are 6 dudes, I believe. Yep. 2 key offensive players, 2 rotational defensive linemen, 1 depth offensive lineman, and then special teams. So let's get into this. Starting out, so the 6 people that we're going to be going over are Chig Okonkwo, Kevin Zeitler, Sebastian Joseph Day, Joey Sly, and Johnny Hecker. I kind of just lumped them into 2. And then if you want to say Morgan Cox, short answer, yes, I do want Morgan Cox back. Then Jihad Ward, and then last but certainly not least is Corey Levin. So let's get into this. Starting out with Chig. No, I don't want Chig back. Look. Oh, also Tony Pollard is also a no for me. Again, you can just find a running back of his caliber a lot of places in the league. If you have a good enough offensive line, you'll be fine. So I just wanted to put that out there just as a quick thing. Same thing goes for Arden Key. I feel like that one's pretty obvious that he's probably not going to come back. But I do want to put it out there that I don't think that Arden Key is great for the culture. I think that he is a good, lighthearted dude to bring into a very stern culture to let them be a little loose. But with a culture like we have that is still very fragile and still rebuilding, you need some very serious dudes that are going to get down and go to work. So, and I don't think Arden Key's that guy. I don't think he fits the locker room right now. So I don't think that he'll resign. And also we have young depth defensive linemen that we aren't paying as much as we are Arden Key. So anyway, starting out with Chig Okonkwo. No, I don't want Chig Okonkwo back. I really debated over this, right? Before the offseason, if you would have asked me if I wanted Chig back, I would have said, heck yes, I want Chig back, big time. He's a great target. He's got good chemistry with Cam Ward, and he was one of the only targets that would actually give Cam Ward a hand whenever he was running routes. That's it, right? And then what happened was the offseason hit. I see Robert Saleh get hired. I get excited about that because I was happy to see that the Titans didn't decide to make the buddy hire in Matt Nagy and New York. But anyway, then after that happens, I see that the Titans hire Brian Daboll. I'm really through the roof about that. I'm thinking, oh man, imagine what he's going to do with Cam Ward. And maybe the offensive line will get a little better, especially if he brings in Brasillo. And then, and then I think, oh, Chig Okonkwo could break out in this offense, right? Well, I did more research on the offense, and let's just say Chig is not the best fit for this. You see, here's the thing, right? Daboll likes big, meaty tight ends, big dudes that can block well and can still be like hybrids, though, and can still run routes and catch. Chig is not that. He is 6'2", which compared to us, very tall, and he's not really that chunky. He's a great route runner. He's a great pass catcher, but one of the biggest criticisms that we have always had of Chig is that he's not a good blocker running or passing. And who can blame him, right? I mean, like, he is a smaller guy in general, especially for that position. But whenever you take a look at it, he just isn't a good fit for the Brian Daboll system. So I do not think the Titans will re-sign Chig Okonkwo, and I don't think that they should at that. Not because I dislike Chig. I think he's going to go do great things for somebody else. But as it stands right now, where he is, I just don't think it's the best fit. Next thing that I wanted to mention, Kevin Zeitler. Yes, I want Kevin Zeitler back. If he does not retire, you offer him a contract for 1 year. I don't care how much you have to pay him. Look, here's the thing, right? What this offensive line needs is stability. It was stable last year, or at least at the second half of last year. First half, it was really bad, but it got better as the year went on. And I think that was the fact that they were building up chemistry and they were starting to get to know each other a little better, not just on a player basis, but on a human basis at that as well. So whenever that started to happen, the offensive line started to get better. So my personal opinion on this is that you do whatever it takes to keep that offensive line together. Now, here's the thing. We have 4 offensive linemen that we know are going to be staying. Dan Moore's going to be here for a while. Peter Skoronski, we're probably going to give a fat extension soon. Lloyd Cushenberry is going to be here for the next 2 years at least. We'll get back to him. And then J.C. Latham, I think, will get 1 more year. And if he doesn't figure it out under Brasillo, I think that he's done, right? So all of those things considered, you really need to get Kevin Zeitler back so that way you can bring some stability to this offensive line. And I think that he is solid. I think that he is a good veteran to have on this offensive line. And I think that if you bring him back, the offensive line stays solid. But I will talk about what could happen if he retires later. Anyway, I really want Zeitler back. Next one I want to talk about was Sebastian Joseph Day. I don't want Sebastian Joseph Day back. Not for any other reason outside of the fact that he's old. That's it. I feel like that you can get maybe not better production, but close or similar to production out of Sebastian Joseph Day if you just go and draft the defensive tackle in like the 6th or 7th round, if you will. I think that you can get a lot of good value out of those guys. I just think that he is too old to stay around. And even though he could be a decent presence in the locker room, I don't know. I just don't think that he is the best fit for this. And it's not like Kevin Zeitler, where Kevin Zeitler is a veteran that starts and he is a dude that is consistently solid. Sebastian Joseph Day isn't like amazing or anything, and he's a rotational defensive lineman. So just taking those two things into consideration, I just don't think that it would be wise to re-sign him. I would be happy if they did. I would think, okay, he's a good rotational defensive lineman, but I would also say, like, did it really need to happen though? So anyway, I don't know how I feel about Sebastian Joseph Day, and honestly, I don't think that we should re-sign him. Going into the special teams, yes, I do think that they should be re-signed. I think that having familiarity with Bones and having that special teams rolling last year, I think that can seriously help out Joey Sly and Johnny Hecker if they come back and end up still being really solid. But again, if Bones Fassel sees this fit that we need to go with somebody else, then I completely trust him. And this isn't like Bill Callahan where I trust him blindly before he even came into the building. This is a situation where I'm like, yeah, he's had 1 year. He had a good special teams unit. So let's bring whoever he wants to bring in for the special teams. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I like bringing them back. But if they don't, I will trust it. Next one that I wanted to mention was Jihad Ward. I think that he has a very similar situation whenever it comes to being too old for this defensive line. And I don't think that we should re-sign him. But it's not for the same reason as SJD, because we actually have somebody on the roster that can fulfill the Jihad Ward role, and I think that can fulfill it pretty stinking well, and he's a lot younger. Jalen Harrell, and one of the only draft picks that Rand Carthen actually hit on, Jalen Harrell had ended up being a pretty good defensive lineman for the Titans this last year. He's good in pass situations, pass rushing, that is. He's very good just in general whenever it comes to being on the field, awareness and stuff like that. And honestly, I think that he is just a better, younger, and even cheaper version of Jihad Ward, which you can't get that much cheaper than Jihad Ward, but he really is. And I honestly do believe that he will be pretty solid as a rotational defensive lineman. And that makes me think, what is the use of keeping Jihad Ward around if we have a dude that can fulfill that position better and could potentially get a couple of depth guys in free agency, fulfill the Jalen Harrell role from last year? Or if Jihad Ward does go out to free agency, and there are two separate roles for those two, you can go get somebody that's almost just as good in free agency, or again, heck, even in the draft, because I think that Robert Saleh is a defensive wizard. That's why I said no to both of these guys. So whenever you have somebody like that, he can get the most out of anybody. Again, I don't like the idea of re-signing Jihad Ward, and I just think that Jalen Harrell's better. That's the overall thought whenever it comes to this. Next one that I wanted to mention was Corey Levin. This is the last one, and yes, I would 100% bring back Corey Levin. Out of all of these guys, outside of Kevin Zeitler, this is the one I feel the most passionate about, at least whenever it comes to the yeses. I love myself some Corey Levin. I think that he is a very good backup, and I think that he fills in very well whenever the starting center does get hurt. And I just think that he is a very solid option at backup. And unlike the last couple of guys, I think that Corey Levin is one of the most underrated backup centers in the NFL. I think that he's one of the better backup centers in the NFL. And I think that it would be hard to replace him if you decide to let him go. So I think that Corey Levin needs to come back next year. And I think that it would be great, especially considering the fact that, what if Lloyd gets hurt again? Corey Levin has to step in. Maybe he ends up taking that job from him and ends up crushing it. Who knows? I'm not saying that that will happen. Actually, I don't think it will happen. I think that he would be fine in game, but I don't think it would be enough for people to be like, yeah, I want him to start over Lloyd Cushenberry. So still, I really want Corey Levin back. I think that he is a solid backup center, and I think he will be one of those underrated Titans legends that doesn't end up in the Ring of Honor or anything, but fans from this time will remember him. Similar thing with an NWI or a Tajay Sharp or a Khalif Raymond, right? Those are the guys that people remember that not the casual NFL fan will know, but they hold a special place in a specific fan bases. So again, really like Corey Levin coming back. Okay, we're going to burn through these real quick, just speed right through them. Preferred free agents at needs of position. I'm burning through these because of the fact that I already covered most of these dudes in the last episode, but starting out, Romeo Doubs. I want Romeo Doubs at wide receiver. We're starting out with wide receiver, by the way. We're doing wide receiver, edge, and then cornerback and right guard. So whenever it comes to wide receiver, Romeo Doubs. I really like the idea of Romeo Doubs. I think that Cam Ward really needs those sure hands right now, especially considering the fact that Alec Aomanor, who is his contested catch guy, at least for now, is probably not really ready to be a sure hands guy, if you will. And I don't think he'll go up and get and I think that he'll go up and get some insane contested catches, but there are some easy passes that I think he'll just easily drop, right? So I think that that's the case with Alec Aomanor. I don't think that Chimere DK fills the role. I think that he's a gadget guy that you send to run a slant and then hope that he gets yak. And then the rest of the receiver core, you don't even have to ask me about it. I don't even know if Calvin Ridley is going to be on the team next year. So there's that. I like the idea of Romeo Doubs. Get a sure-handed wide receiver in there, and that would be absolutely huge. The next person that I want to mention was Tutu Atwell. I am going to stand my ground on the Tutu Atwell train. I think that this dude is going to be very good for somebody. I'm not saying that he's going to be an 1,000-yard receiver or anything, but I think that he could very easily be a solid wide receiver 3, even 2 for somebody, being a 700 to 800-yard guy. I 100% believe that. I think that he has a lot of potential whenever it comes to going to another team. And one of Brian Daboll's favorite things in a wide receiver is somebody that's shifty, that's quick, that can run solid routes, stuff like that, get yak. And that is exactly what Tutu Atwell is at his best. I think that he would be absolutely amazing for this. I think you pair him up with our current receivers coach. He hopefully unlocks some of his potential. Then Brian Daboll's system just does it even further. And I think that you've got a decent wide receiver too on your hands. Now, do I think that he will be like amazing or anything? No, he's not going to be a 1,000-yard receiver. I don't even think he'll be a 900-yard receiver. But I could very easily see him being a very solid wide receiver 3 or 2 for this football team in the foreseeable future. So I just wanted to put that up there. And I'm going to do the last one. This one's a little bit more unrealistic, but I want to talk about Alec Pierce because here's the thing. If he walks out of the building of Indianapolis without a deal, you sign him immediately. I don't care how much money it takes. You overpay just to get a dude that you know is going to at least be stable at that receiver position. Here's the thing, right? Cam Ward, he loves to throw that deep ball. We didn't let him do it that much last year, but he loves to throw that deep ball. Here's the thing. As a young quarterback, there are going to be some problems. Like he won't be able to, like there will be some iffy throws thrown in there every now and again. But you get a sure-handed, deep contested catch guy like Alec Pierce, and that can sometimes tone it down a little bit. Maybe an 11 interception season goes to like an 8 or 7 interception season because of the efforts of Alec Pierce. I 100% believe that. And I do think that Alec Pierce should be 100% considered as a signing for this team. If he hits free agency, you overpay the crap out of him because you have the cap space to do it, and he will bring a good presence into the locker room. So I just want to say that. Okay, edge. The first one that I wanted to mention was Odafe Oweh. Actually, I'm going to mention all 3 of these at once. Odafe Oweh, Boye Mafe, and Khalil Mack. I'm mentioning all 3 of these guys because they fall under one category, stability. These guys are not going to reinvent the wheel. They're not going to be 12-sack guys. They're not going to come in and just be absolutely ridiculous at their jobs, correct? But there's one thing that they can bring, and that is just a decent presence, right? Again, I don't think that any of these guys are like amazing. Khalil Mack was at one point, but not as much anymore. That's my unrealistic option because I do think the Chargers will bring him back. But like all 3 of these guys are maybe not older, but you bring them in on like 2 or 3 year contracts. You let Femi Oladejo develop in the background, or even if he ends up being a bust, you keep them around. Like these are guys that like could get you like seven sacks per year, would be good at run stopping, and that would very well counter a potential draft pick at edge who may be considered a pass rusher, if you will. So I really like the idea of signing one of these 3 guys, getting them in that as veteran presences that can help the younger guys on the roster at edge develop. And then also just, again, being a solid veteran presence for Femi. And even if Femi doesn't work out, you can just re-sign these dudes in a couple of years, right? So anyway, last one that I wanted to mention was defensive back / edge, or defensive back / right guard. And I want to start out with Jalen Watson. I think that this dude is very good. He's in the Chiefs system, which, getting a cornerback from the Chiefs system is always a little bit questionable, but he has been solid this year. And I do think that you can get him for a little cheaper than you would have gotten a guy like L'Jarius Sneed. And honestly, I think that he would fit pretty well in here. And again, we just need defensive back help, whether it's starting or depth. We just need DB help. And I think that Jalen Watson can provide that. Next person I want to mention, I'm going to go a little bit more in depth with this one, but it is Alontae Taylor. This is a Manchester guy. This is one of my dudes. I love this guy. He is a very solid, shifty cornerback that can play all sorts of positions. He played elite against the Titans, and he's from Tennessee, and he played for the Vols, which makes me think that, who knows, maybe there's a good chance that a dude like Alontae Taylor could end up coming to the Titans solely because of that. I don't know if he's like a homebody of some sorts. I mean, even though I come from the Manchester community, I don't know that much about his family. Again, though, like Alontae Taylor is a very good player, and honestly, he would do a lot for the defensive back room, especially considering the fact that he is expected to hit free agency unless the Saints GM, as time and time again as he does, ends up re-signing him because of some salary cap thing. So I just wanted to mention that Alontae Taylor, I really like him. Then for the right guards, I have Dalton Reisner and Greg Von Ruten. These are guys that are, again, stabilizers, stable football players that will come in and be average. They will be okay at their position. This is if This is if Kevin Zeitler decides to hang it up after this year or says, hey, I'm not coming to the Titans. Right? These guys are stable. They're going to be average. They're going to be fine. I mean, the word that keeps coming back to me is stability, right? And honestly, I think this would be a really good idea to bring somebody like a Dalton Reisner or a Greg Von Ruden in, bring him in on like a 1 or 2 year deal, cheap deal, if you will. Then you see a guy like Jackson Slater come in. If he develops over the offseason and he ends up looking really good at right guard, then you can go out and try and start him. But if like he doesn't look as great and he still needs a little bit more time to develop, another year or two, you have one of these guys waiting for you as just a solid starter that is probably not going to reinvent the wheel. He's not gonna allow 1 sack on the season. He'll probably allow like 5 to 8 or something like that. But he will still bring a solid veteran presence, correct? So I think that's a really good idea. Anyway, that's it for today's episode. I have Instagram and Twitter under the Titans Rundown if you want to go check those out. Anybody that's listening over Thunder Radio, I have a YouTube channel and a podcast if you just want to look at that, maybe look at longer versions of these. And if you are a podcast listener, again, I have YouTube. And if you want to check that out, then I would love for you to see that. Also, for everybody that is listening, I have a account on Music City Miracles. I write articles for them. If you want to check that description and take a look at the articles that I do write, then be my guest. Most of them are head coaching profiles, but I'm trying to get more out, I promise. So anyway, that's going to do it all for me. This has been a rundown of your Tennessee Titans. I love y'all, and tighten up.